After conducting the Shanghai Symphony and founding the Shanghai Pops Orchestra while there, Frank returned home to Wisconsin. He got a job teaching band at Logan High School in La Crosse, Wisconsin. While there, on June 16, 1947, George was born to Doris and Frank. Eventually, Frank was transferred to teach at Lincoln Middle School. While teaching at Lincoln, Frank and Doris divorced. It was a rough time for Frank. He found a room to rent from a former student's parents. Ruth and Arthur Hafner, parents of Lenore, boarded Frank in their second-floor room. As a student of Frank's, Lenore Hafner had shown great talent in playing the clarinet both in the band and orchestra. Lenore had even babysat Frank's children. She graduated from Logan High School in 1951 and went on to Dr. Martin Luther College in New Ulm, Minnesota. While she attended there, Frank started to visit her on the weekends. Being 17 years her senior, the couple was the talk of the campus. Because classes were still being held on Saturday mornings, Frank sat in on Lenore's classes. They played clarinet duets together in the music building and attended church together. Slowly, he grew to appreciate the gospel message of the Wisconsin Lutheran Synod.
Actually, I can't remember convincing him. That was also very gradual. Because when we did date and he came to New Ulm, and we went, Pastor Burkholz in Mankato, his sermons had a lot to do with it. And I guess in my mind there was no question if I was going to marry him, he would have to be Lutheran. I can't remember telling him that, but I think he knew it.
It took several years for Frank's Catholic family to accept the fact that Frank was no longer in the Roman Catholic Church and that he'd married Lenore, but they eventually accepted it. During the Christmas break of Lenore's sophomore year, Frank and Lenore were married on his 37th birthday, December 21st, 1952. Originally, Lenore was going to go back to New Ulm and finish her schooling, but she decided to stay in La Crosse and help Frank raise his 3 children. In the summer of 1951, Frank attended Tanglewood and studied conducting with the renowned conductor and composer Leonard Bernstein. Bernstein was impressed with Frank. In a letter dated March 16, 1960, Bernstein wrote, "Mr. Italiano is known to me as a conducting student at Tanglewood in the summer of 1951. He showed a real grasp of musical ideas and a charming and direct way of communicating those ideas to the orchestra. I have not been able to follow his progress since that summer, but if his gifts at that time were any indication, he should by now be a fine conductor." Bernstein even offered Frank the opportunity to be his understudy in New York, but because the money was less than he received from teaching in public schools and the cost of living was so high in New York, Frank had to decline.
And I had to turn down the Fulbright scholarship to study in Italy, and I turned down Bernstein when he offered me to be his assistant with New York Philharmonic because both jobs paid so little.
Over the years, Frank also studied conducting with Dr. Thor Johnson, Eugene Ormandy, Frederick Fennell, Joseph Levine, Elizabeth Green, William Smith, and Ray Dvorak.